Welcome. My name is Arlie Timmermans, and I will present the parts about early clinical development and late clinical development. I would like to thank the rest of the group for the cooperation, and especially Carrie Russell, who helped me a lot with the early clinical and late clinical development parts. In the early clinical development, I will discuss the phase 1 and 2 studies performed in humans with Bevacizumab. Early clinical development, phase 1A. This was the first study performed with Bevacizumab in humans. Bevacizumab was given as a monotreatment in refractory or relapsed cancer patients. The goal of this study was to evaluate the safety and pharmacokinetic profile of Avastin, or Bevacizumab. 25 patients were included in the study, which all had refractory solid tumor cancers. The average concentration was measured in the blood and is shown on the graph on the left side. The max concentration rose with increased dose in a linear logistic relation. The doses ranged from 0.1 mg per kilogram to 10 mg per kilogram. Also, the side effects were measured for the safety. The dose of the drug is here shown in relation to the total adverse events. Grade 1 to 2 adverse events are minor events, and grade 3 to 4 adverse events are serious adverse events, possibly life-threatening. In the scientific publication describing this study, they stated that no dose-related toxicity was shown, and this is also reflected in the graph that you can see. The main points to take away from the phase 1A study was that they showed no dose-related toxicity. The drug had a half-life of 21 days, the data was not shown, and they took away a recommendation for the initial dose that could be given in subsequent studies, and they recommended an initial dose of 3.0 milligram per kilogram, maintained by 0.3 milligram per kilogram weekly injections. It should be noted that this recommendation was based on what was said in the articles, but no detailed data was shown to support this statement. Early clinical development, phase 1B. In this study, Bevacizumab was used in combination with one of 3 other chemotherapy regimens in the treatment of cancer. The goal of this study was to evaluate its pharmacology and long-term safety data. As opposed to the previous slide, where Bevacizumab was used as a monotherapy, it is now combined with one of 3 other chemotherapy regimens to better reflect its use in current clinical practice. 12 patients were included in this study, all with advanced solid tumors. The doses given to the patient was 3 mg per kilogram patient weekly for 8 weeks. If the patient showed an objective response or stable disease, the treatment could be continued. Continuation of the treatment would mean that the dose would be doubled each 2 weeks. This could mean a big increase in the dose given to better reflect the preclinical animal testing, where no side effects were seen, up to 50 mg per kilogram every 2 weeks. So this study could, in potential, also show this. What was shown in the data describing this trial was that the total serum VEGF was increased in patients given this treatment, and 3 patients showed an objective response or stable disease and could continue with the treatment. Their dose escalated quickly, and they sustained treatment for 12, 28, or 32 extra doses respectively. None of these 3 patients showed any toxicity that could be attributed to Avastin or Bevacizumab. The main points to take away from this phase 1B clinical study was that Bevacizumab showed no interaction with chemotherapy and could therefore safely be combined. No anti-Avastin or anti-Bevacizumab antibodies were created, so this means that the patient didn't show any unfavorable autoimmune effects, and no significant toxicities could be attributed to Avastin, furthermore improving the favorability of the use for patients. Early clinical development phase 2. This trial consisted of a randomized trial where either bevacizumab or a placebo was added to fluorouracil in the treatment of metastatic colorectal cancer. Fluorouracil is the usual treatment for metastatic colorectal cancer. The goal of this study was to evaluate the safety and efficacy of adding bevacizumab to first-line therapy and also find the most favorable dose to do this. In order to achieve this goal, 104 patients were assigned to one of three arms. The arm consisted of a control group, a treatment group with 5 mg per kilogram 2 weeks, and another treatment group of 10 mg per kilogram for 2 weeks. The most favorable results, as this study shows, and as can also be seen in the table, were shown in the 5 mg per kilogram per 2 weeks of bevacizumab added to the fluorouracil therapy. This showed a significant increase in median time to disease progression from 5.2 months in the control group to 9 months in the 5 mg treatment group. The objective response rate also significantly increased, as well as the median survival. The main points to take away from this is that they saw no dose-related toxicity, which was not shown in the article. The half-life of bevacizumab was 21 days, which is quite favorable, and the recommended dose for future studies would be 5 mg per kilogram per 2 weeks. Late clinical development. During this part of the presentation, I will be discussing pivotal trials for the use of bevacizumab, which were also used for its registration. And I will also be discussing the different pharmacoeconomic trials that have been performed, and will give a cost-benefit analysis of the use of bevacizumab in different patient groups. Late clinical development pivotal phase 3 trials. In this trial, the regular treatment for metastatic colorectal cancer, which was a fluorouracil-based therapy, was combined either with bevacizumab or a placebo. The goal of this study was to determine whether bevacizumab added to chemotherapy increases survival. In order to do this, 830 patients were assigned to two arms. One treatment arm, where fluorouracil-based therapy was combined with bevacizumab, and one control group, where fluorouracil-based therapy was combined with a placebo. In the left-hand corner, you can see the overall survival curve for the two treatments. This is also reflected in the table, where overall survival increased from 15.6 months in the placebo group to 20.3 months in the bevacizumab treated group. This was a hazard ratio of 0.66 and was statistically significant. Progression-free survival was also increased, and the response rate was also improved in the bevacizumab treated group, as well as the duration of the response. What should be mentioned was that the grade 3 and 4 adverse events also showed a statistically significant increase, which is actually unfavorable. So in the control group, 74% of the patients got a grade 3 or 4 adverse event, while in the bevacizumab treated group this was increased to 85%. The main points to take away from the study is that the treatment effects were consistent among all subgroups that they analyzed. This was shown in the article, but no data was shown to support this. The Avastin-induced hypertension, which caused some of the adverse events, were all manageable with antihypertensive therapy. And the main point was that overall survival was clinically meaningful improvement could be achieved. Additional phase 3 trials. Here, multiple randomized control trials were included as a way of combining multiple trials to see if the treatment effects still hold up. It is the same patient group and the same treatment. So metastatic colorectal patients were included, and fluorouracil-based therapy with Avastin or a placebo was the treatment given. The goal was to determine the survival benefit of adding bevacizumab to first-line therapy. So this is similar to the first phase 3 trial, which was first described. In this meta-analysis, 7 randomized control trials were included, which consisted in total of 3,436 patients. The results are shown in the tables. On the right-hand side, it is shown that the overall survival is not statistically significantly improved. The hazard ratio for overall survival is 0.89 with a confidence interval of 0.78 to 1.02. So this is not statistically significant. This is opposite from what the first pivotal phase 3 trial was, which a lot of the FDA and the EMEA indication was based on. So no overall survival benefit could be shown when seven randomized controlled trials were combined. What did show a consistent statistically significant effect was the progression-free survival, which had a hazard ratio of 0.68 with a confidence interval of 0.59 to 0.78. So where the first pivotal phase 3 trial showed both an overall survival and a progression-free survival increase, in the meta-analysis only a progression-free survival benefit could be seen, and this did not translate in an overall survival benefit. So the main point to take away from this is that in these 7 studies, bevacizumab for the indication of metastatic colorectal cancer, progression-free survival is increased, but this does not turn into an overall survival benefit. Late clinical development, pharmacoeconomics assessment. In order to provide a cost-benefit analysis for the use of bevacizumab in combination with fluorouracil-based therapy in first-line metastatic colorectal cancer, this meta-analysis was performed. So the goal was to assess the cost-effectiveness of bevacizumab. 3 randomized controlled trials were included, which consisted of 1,126 patients, in which 574 patients had bevacizumab added to their regular fluorouracil-based therapy. On the left-hand corner, you can see a graph which combines the probability for cost-effectiveness of combination of bevacizumab against the willingness to pay per quality-adjusted life year, or QALY. The QALY here is shown in pounds. In the table, you can see the cost of treatment to add bevacizumab in UK and Japan. Regular treatment in UK converted to American dollars, was 33,628. So this is without the use of bevacizumab. If you wanted to include bevacizumab in this treatment, this would cost you an additional 24,000 to 30,000, ranging from the different cost measurements that were used. This would calculate to an increased cost of 73,000 per life year gained, or 98,500 per quality adjusted life year. The national quality threshold in the UK is between 31,000 and 47,000, so this 98,000 would go greatly beyond this. In Japan, less information was known. The treatment's added costs of adding Avastin were 2,500 to 3,300, and this would calculate to a $99,000 increase per life year gained for the use of Avastin. Their national quality threshold converted to dollars is 50,000 to 100,000. So the main points to take away from this study is that this is in pounds, that the combination of bevacizumab to the treatment would cost an additional 62,000 per quality adjusted life year, which is far above the UK's national quality threshold of 20,000 to 30,000. So this would mean that it does offer a clinical improvement, but at a high cost, and a high cost that is unacceptable for UK standards.